Let's start by welcoming in Shaka, Hislop and Stewart, Robson. Guys, great to have you with us on this Friday. Just the one match in the Premier League on Friday. Aston Villa away at Newcastle, settling for a 1-1 draw. Villa will stay then in 9th place, missing out on an opportunity to jump Liverpool in 8th. Either side of Villa in the table, we've got the participants in Sunday's North London Derby, which Arsenal will host. Arsenal installed as a slight favourite in this match, so they are 10th in the table. Spurs are 7th, the two sides separated by 7 points. All right, Craig, let's dive into this one. Both sides focusing pretty extensively on the Europa League, but who do you think needs it more?
The afterthought derby, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels weird, right? This doesn't feel as important as a league derby between these two should.
Well, both teams will think they have a chance of winning the Europa League, and that would be factual. There are other good sides in there, like Man United and Milan and others. But Tottenham really needs this result, because Tottenham still have an outside chance of top 4. Arsenal have no chance. Arsenal are not getting top 4. Tottenham, if I was a Tottenham player, if I was Mourinho, I would not be giving up on top 4 through my league form. So their need is more in terms of getting a result. Whether their style of play, going to the Emirates and sitting in and trying to suck Arsenal in and doing what they've done most of the season, hitting teams on the counter, whether that's going to work or not, remains to be seen. We think Harry Kane's going to be okay. It was a doubt. Both sides got good results in the Europa League, so it's a difficult one to call between two sides that are just, to be honest with you, quite a long way off the pace.
Arsenal 12 points out of the top 4. Robbo, just how important is the league at this point for Arsenal, especially given how important Europa League has now become?
Well, the Europa League's everything to them at the moment because, as Craig said, they're not going to get into the top 4, but they'll always want to beat Spurs in a North London derby. And at the moment, Arsenal are playing some decent football going forward. You know, Shaka's done excellently. Aubameyang's getting back to somewhere near his best form. The midfield is looking that little bit better with Thomas Partey playing back from his injury. But they still have problems when they play up from the back. And that's the key thing for Spurs. Do they sit back and then try and play on the counter-attack? Or do they expose that Arsenal, whenever they try and play up from the back, always give you a chance? We saw that against Olympiacos. We've seen it the previous week. So that's what it's going to be all about. Are Spurs going to press the ball at the right time and win it back in good areas? Or are they going to sit back as they did in the first game, have 30% of the ball and still win the game by a couple of goals to nil? I think it's going to be a tight game. But I would just say that Arsenal at the moment are playing some good football.
Speaking of prioritizing the Europa League, Shaka, were you surprised at the starting lineup that Mourinho used on Thursday against Zagreb? A game Stevie on this show called basically a practice game for Spurs. We still saw Harry Kane for 84 minutes, came off with ice on his knee.
Yeah, but listen, I expect Harry Kane to be fit for the game on the weekend. I'm not overly concerned about that. And yes and no with Spurs. He's not quite sure the direction that Jose Mourinho wants to go, and he still has, I feel he always wants to regress to this rather defensive, counter-attacking style. We'd call it pragmatic for want of a stronger word. But then you've seen Gareth Bale come in and be involved and contribute significantly. And I feel that's where Spurs has looked at their best, when they've played on the front foot, when they've attacked the opponent. But Jose Mourinho always has this go back to let's just defend and hit teams on the break. And against Arsenal for this one, I feel that may be exactly how he starts. Maybe again using Bale off the bench late on if things aren't going his way or need be. So for me, it's a weird one as far as Spurs approach it. Though I think they come into this by far the better of the two. Arsenal, as good as they've been, I'm always concerned about their inconsistency.
Just to go back to Robbo's point, when Partey comes in, when Partey goes out, you know, we talk about key players. One, Thomas Partey, and two, Kieran Tierney, this season in particular. And when both those were out the side, it takes away an awful lot of the edge around Arsenal, because both those players, one does a great defensive job in front of the back four, and the other runs the whole length, up and down, good defensively, but also good going forward. Going back to the team selection, Mourinho in his mind believes he can win this competition. That's how he portrays himself. He's got a Carabao Cup final coming up against Man City. They're obviously, heavy underdogs. He thinks he can go all the way with his, shall we call it, stubborn approach to how they play, because it's worked for him before. And he portrays himself as a guy that gets the job done. That's how he sold himself his whole career, and for the most part, he's done it. And in his mind, he will continue to play strong teams in these competitions because he's always said, I'm about trophies. That's what I'm about. And if they don't get in the top four, and that's still it's a long shot, he will absolutely sell it if he can get one of these trophies, Carabao Cup or Europa League, and say, look, this club hasn't done X, Y, and Z for so many years, but I can deliver. So don't be surprised by his team selection in the Europa League in particular.
Hey, Robbo, between these two, who do you think's a better bet to win the Europa League?
I would say that it's Spurs because I think they've got better players. I think they've got some outstanding forward players. It's just whether the fullbacks can defend well enough when they start to go forward, and likes of Aurier or Doherty, when they're travelling back, do they defend well enough? The same down the left-hand side. He likes Reguilon playing forward, but he doesn't like his defensive qualities. But I think key to Spurs will be their midfield. I think Højbjerg's done really well, but who plays alongside him? He doesn't trust Ndombele to play that position alongside him. He wants him to play further forward. And I'm not sure he trusts Harry Winks as a good all-round player. So that's key area for Spurs. If they can get that right, they've got every chance of winning the Europa League.
Shaka, what do you think a defeat in the North London derby would mean for Mikel Arteta?
I'll be honest, not an awful lot. I don't see, unless everything just completely capitulates between now and the end of the season, that Arteta won't be Arsenal's manager to start next season. I think he'll be given that. Arsenal at times have shown glimmers of real hope, though they've been disappointing at times as well. A defeat here doesn't change whether Arteta is Arsenal's manager come August, I think.
Shaka suggested this might be a perfect game for Gareth Bale to come off the bench, but he's been red hot of late. You see this as a spot for him to start?
Well, what we think and what the manager thinks is
two braces in his last, three Premier League games? I mean,
how long
do you keep that guy
how
on the
long
bench?
into the season do you have to wait? That would be my.
If not now,
well,
when?
exactly. I mean, he's like, you can't wait till the last 2 or 3 games and say, oh, he's ready now. He's absolutely ready. It's whether the manager sees him having an impact from the start or off the bench. It's really been a strange one. But to go back to Shaka's point, there's nothing happening at Arsenal before well into next season. Arteta's going to get through to the summer. They're going to have a relook at their recruitment, how they can offload, which they did in January, managed to get some players out. They're going to have a reshuffle of the squad. How much they're going to spend, I don't know. And then there'll be more pressure on him next season. But this season, he's not going to go anywhere. As for Mourinho, if they don't have anything at the end of the season, and the way that they've played, maybe Daniel Levy has got some more thinking to do on that appointment, because it was, in essence, I think, a Daniel Levy appointment.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.